Welcome to the world of J-Cat Adventures. Jay Bahari is the creative mind behind J-Cat, a dark, handsome, and irresistibly charming playboy who knows his way around the world's most elite circles. He's a man of adventure, romance, and intrigue, living a life most could only dream of. Beneath the tailored suits, fast cars, and high society allure lies a purpose that drives him to protect the vulnerable and bring justice to those without a voice. Dive into the captivating magic of J-Cat Adventures and discover ebooks, print editions, and audiobooks tailored for those who crave romance, suspense, and a touch of classic drama. Through each episode, you'll experience heart-stopping escapades, luxurious settings, and captivating romances that whisk you to distant lands, all woven into J-Cat's thrilling life. So, subscribe, tune in, and join our community of fans who share your love for stories that blend elegance with danger and heroism with passion. Whether you're a wanderlust soul, a romantic at heart, or just love a great adventure, J-Cat Adventures is here to awaken your spirit for excitement, justice, and unrelenting romance.
Hi, I am Danielle, the AI narrator for Jay Bahari. Let's go. Whispers of Havana, a J-Cat seduction. The engine of J-Cat's Jaguar purred to a halt as he slid out onto the cobblestone street. His polished shoes crunching lightly over the uneven stones. He adjusted his cuffs, the linen of his suit crisp and immaculate, standing out against the backdrop of Havana's vibrant yet weathered beauty. The humid night air enveloped him, carrying the sounds of laughter, the soft hum of salsa music, and the occasional clink of glasses from nearby cafes that lined El Malecón. He scanned the area, his dark eyes narrowing as he zeroed in on his target. The woman he was here to find was more than just beautiful, she was mysterious, elusive, and powerful in her own right. Bella de la Vega, an heiress to a legendary Cuban fortune, had the city of Havana wrapped around her little finger. Her family, known for its roots in sugar and rum, had been part of Cuba's elite for generations, and Bella herself was a known figure on the social scene. But recently, rumors had spread that she possessed something far more valuable than money or status. A rare artifact that, if real, would be priceless. J-Cat had been hired by an anonymous client to retrieve it. Details had been scarce, but he knew enough to understand he wasn't the only one interested in Bella's secret. There was another, darker faction out there, lurking in the shadows, watching her just as closely as he was. He had no intention of letting them get to her first. He strolled casually along the promenade, blending into the crowds as he searched for her. Bella de la Vega was known for her flamboyant style and natural beauty, but she moved through Havana as unpredictably as the Caribbean winds. He'd done his research, but tonight, it would take more than information to find her, it would take instinct. J-Cat's gaze shifted, honing in on a small group near the water where laughter and champagne flowed freely. And there, standing in the center, her striking silhouette illuminated by a string of soft lights, was Bella. She wore a fiery red dress that hugged her figure in all the right places, her dark curls spilling over her shoulders as she smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. Even at a distance, J-Cat could see the elegance and poise that made her unforgettable. He approached, careful to maintain the balance between charm and subtlety, slipping into her circle as if he belonged there. "Fancy meeting someone so beautiful in such a vibrant city," he said smoothly, his voice low and warm. Bella turned, her smile widening as her eyes took him in, assessing him with the sharpness of a woman who was used to watching her back. "It's Havana, señor. The city is filled with beautiful people," she replied with a playful smirk, raising an eyebrow. "True. But not everyone here has the allure of a woman like you," he countered, offering her his hand. "J-Cat." "Bella de la Vega," she responded, taking his hand with a firm yet elegant shake. Her touch was warm, but there was a strength to her grip that hinted at the intelligence behind those captivating eyes. "I've heard quite a bit about you, Ms. de la Vega. They say you're the heart of Havana," he said, maintaining his smile but carefully gauging her reaction. He could sense her curiosity, that flicker of intrigue that he knew would open doors. "And I've heard nothing about you, Señor Cat," she replied, her eyes sparkling with interest. Which means you're either very discreet or very dangerous. J-Cat smiled, leaning in slightly. I suppose I'm both. A laugh escaped her, and she gestured for him to join her by the railing, overlooking the crashing waves. They stood together, silent for a moment, letting the sea breeze fill the gaps in conversation. J-Cat's mind was already working, considering the best way to broach the topic of the artifact, but Bella spoke first. You didn't come to Havana to chase ghosts, did you? She asked, her gaze fixed on the dark horizon. I know a man with purpose when I see one. He tilted his head, intrigued. So you know why I'm here? Bella looked at him, her eyes narrowing slightly. I may have heard whispers, she said, a hint of mischief in her voice. Whispers about a certain relic, a family treasure that's been in hiding for generations. J-Cat's pulse quickened. And do you know where this treasure is? She took a deep breath, then motioned for him to follow her. They left the crowd, heading down a series of winding streets until they reached an old mansion. It was grand, almost palatial, with ornate columns and faded murals that hinted at a luxurious past. Bella produced a key, unlocking a side door before glancing over her shoulder at J-Cat. If you're coming with me, you'd better be sure you can handle what you find. He followed her inside, alert but intrigued. The dim light from an overhead chandelier revealed walls lined with paintings, each one depicting scenes of ancient battles, gods, and mythical creatures. They descended a narrow staircase into a room filled with relics, shelves upon shelves of dusty artifacts, each one bearing signs of a forgotten era. This, she said, opening a heavy mahogany box on a nearby table, is the reason you came. Inside was an ornate medallion, encrusted with gemstones and marked with symbols that were foreign to J-Cat. The allure was undeniable, but his instincts warned him that it came with a heavy price. And what exactly does it do? He asked, keeping his tone casual. She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. Legend has it that this medallion brings immense power to whoever wields it. My family has protected it for generations, guarding it from those who would misuse it. But now, there are those who wish to take it, by force, if necessary. J-Cat's eyes narrowed. He could sense her fear, though she hid it well. Then we'll make sure that doesn't happen, he said, his voice resolute. Just then, a shadowy figure appeared in the doorway, and J-Cat felt a cold chill wash over him. They weren't alone. He instinctively pushed Bella behind him, his hand reaching for the concealed weapon inside his jacket. The intruder moved swiftly, and before J-Cat could react, another figure joined the first. With a swift, well-practiced movement, J-Cat disarmed one of them, pinning him against the wall. The other lunged toward Bella, but she stepped back, brandishing a knife with surprising skill. Together, they fought off the assailants, their movements fluid and coordinated, as if they'd trained for this moment all their lives. The last of the intruders stumbled out, defeated. As they caught their breath, Bella turned to him, a slight smile playing on her lips. You're full of surprises, J-Cat. He grinned, wiping a small trickle of blood from his lip. I could say the same about you. With the medallion safely secured, they left the mansion and returned to the seawall, both aware of the newfound bond between them. The night was still, the chaos of their encounter fading into the calm lull of the ocean waves. So, what now? She asked, her tone teasing yet hopeful. He shrugged, slipping an arm around her waist as they walked. Now, we celebrate. And tomorrow, we decide how to keep this treasure safe, together. They wandered down El Malecón, side by side, the medallion tucked safely in Bella's bag. And as they walked under the moonlit sky, they knew they had forged a connection stronger than any treasure, a partnership that would lead them into countless adventures. The world lay before them, filled with secrets yet to uncover. And with Bella by his side, J-Cat was more than ready to embrace it all. As they strolled down the promenade, the night held a certain magic, a silent electricity that crackled between them. Bella's laughter echoed lightly in the humid air as she brushed a lock of hair from her face, her fingers grazing J-Cat's hand in the most accidental of ways. He felt the warmth of her touch linger, stirring something inside him, a pull that was unmistakably alluring. Do you ever find it hard? Bella asked, her voice softer now, balancing a life filled with so much danger? J-Cat chuckled, pausing to lean against the railing overlooking the rolling waves. Let's just say, the thrill of danger has its own rewards. His eyes sparkled as they met hers. But tonight, I'd gladly exchange it for this view. She tilted her head, studying him thoughtfully. And here I thought you were all business. Business doesn't preclude pleasure, he replied, his gaze smoldering. Though it seems tonight, I'm not the only one breaking the rules. She grinned, stepping closer until they were nearly chest to chest. The world around them seemed to fade away as she lifted her chin, her eyes challenging. You'd better be careful, J-Cat. There's more to me than just secrets and legends. Good, he murmured, leaning in so close he could feel her breath on his cheek. I wouldn't want it any other way. With a smile that could melt even the iciest resolve, Bella took his hand, pulling him through the winding streets of old Havana. They weaved through narrow alleyways where street vendors sold fragrant blooms and musicians played sultry tunes, until they reached a small, tucked-away cafe. The lights glowed warmly from inside, casting a golden hue across the cobblestones. She led him to a table on the terrace, overlooking the bustling streets below. They ordered rum cocktails and shared plates of Cuban dishes that filled the air with rich, aromatic scents. Between sips of the sweet, potent rum, Bella opened up about her life in Havana, sharing stories of her youth, her family's legacy, and the path that had led her to protect the treasured medallion. There was a passion in her words, a pride that made J-Cat admire her even more deeply. So what happens to the medallion now? J-Cat asked, his voice quiet, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. She hesitated, her expression contemplative. It'll go back into hiding. But this time, with someone I can trust by my side, she said, her gaze meeting his. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. Then I'll stay as long as you need me. Their fingers intertwined, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. They finished their drinks, and under the spell of the tropical night, walked back to the mansion where they'd first confronted their mysterious intruders. The old, stately building held its secrets well, silent and watchful beneath the starlit sky. Bella opened a small side door that led to a narrow stairwell, and J-Cat followed her up to a rooftop terrace where they could see the whole city spread out before them. The streets were aglow with the faint yellow light from street lamps, the sounds of music drifting up on the breeze. This is my favorite view, she whispered, wrapping her arms around herself as she looked out over the city she loved. Havana, at night. Alive, unbreakable. He took off his jacket, draping it over her shoulders as he stood close behind her. His hands rested gently on her arms, his warmth mingling with hers in the cool night air. They stood in comfortable silence, their gazes tracing the skyline, the two of them perfectly at peace. Then, slowly, she turned to face him, her eyes gleaming with an unmistakable fire. J-Cat held her gaze, his heartbeat thrumming as she reached up, gently tracing his jawline with her fingertips. I think, she murmured, her lips curving into a slow smile, that I'll need you by my side for more than just this one adventure. He leaned down, his voice a soft whisper as he spoke. I'd follow you anywhere, Bella. And as their lips met under the starry Cuban sky, the mysteries of the world seemed small compared to the spell they cast together, side by side, ready for whatever new adventures awaited them next. J-Cat held Bella in his arms, feeling the warmth of her body against his as the gentle Havana breeze swirled around them. There was a stillness in the moment, a quiet realization that for all the dangers and shadows of their lives, the nights like these made it all worthwhile. As they stood together on the terrace, Bella rested her head against his chest, letting her fingers drift across the fabric of his shirt. I never expected this, she murmured, her voice barely audible over the city sounds below. To feel safe and wanted. With you, it's different. I've always had to guard myself. He tilted her chin up, looking into her deep, unguarded gaze. With me, you don't have to hold back, he said softly. We're equals here. Partners? She let out a light, teasing laugh. Partners in crime. Or something more? J-Cat grinned, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. partners in mystery. And maybe something else entirely. They shared a lingering kiss, one that spoke of both promise and passion, igniting something within them neither had expected. Slowly, she took his hand, guiding him back down the narrow stairs into the dimly lit hallways of her family mansion. The air between them was charged, electric, as they wandered through the grand halls lined with family portraits and artifacts, each piece steeped in stories. "I never bring people into this part of my life," she said, her fingers still laced with his. "It's always been about protecting something. But now, maybe it's time for more." They came upon an ancient oak door, one of the last untouched rooms in the house, Bella explained. Inside, artifacts and relics from her family's history were carefully preserved, a tribute to her heritage and legacy. J-Cat felt the weight of the history in the air, the silent stories held within every piece on display. The walls bore rich tapestries, and the old wooden shelves were adorned with everything from delicate jewelry to worn scrolls. Bella led him to a worn leather chair by a grand fireplace, inviting him to sit as she retrieved a delicate bottle of aged rum, pouring each of them a glass. She sank into the chair across from him, the fire casting a warm glow on her face, accentuating her beauty. They sipped in comfortable silence, the warmth of the rum mingling with the intimacy of the moment. The silence was one of understanding, of mutual respect, and unspoken desire. "I feel as if I've known you forever," she murmured. "This is dangerous, you know. Us, here, together." "Dangerous?" He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "Maybe. But some things are worth the risk." Her lips curled into a mischievous smile, her eyes glinting in the firelight. "Then, are you willing to risk a little more?" He stood, slowly moving to her chair, holding her gaze as he reached down, his hands sliding along her arms, pulling her up to him. She rose to meet him, her hands finding their way around his neck as they moved closer, drawn by a force that was both undeniable and magnetic. They danced together, silently swaying to the sound of their own heartbeats, locked in a moment that felt like forever. The flickering firelight illuminated the room, casting shadows that danced along with them, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. As they finally paused, J-Cat looked deep into her eyes, knowing that, no matter what challenges or adventures awaited, this night, this connection, was something they would both carry with them forever. Their embrace was both an end and a beginning, the night falling into silence as the city hummed below, carrying them together, ready for the adventures that lay ahead. As the firelight dimmed and the distant sounds of Havana faded into the quiet of the mansion, J-Cat and Bella lingered in the room, their hands intertwined. The warmth between them grew, not just from the rum but from a shared understanding, the unspoken promise of adventure and something deeper. J-Cat traced his fingers along Bella's hand, marveling at her elegance, strength, and the sharp, daring intelligence that had drawn him to her. He'd met many people in his life, but Bella was different. She was fearless yet kind, worldly but innocent in ways that reminded him of a world he often kept hidden. He leaned in, his lips brushing her ear as he whispered, "Where does the heiress end, and where does Bella begin?" A shiver ran through her as she turned to meet his gaze, her eyes a mixture of vulnerability and defiance. "Only one way to find out," she said with a playful smile, challenging him. She slipped her hand from his, walking down a narrow corridor, casting him a quick glance over her shoulder. J-Cat followed, entranced, his pulse quickening with every step. They entered a room filled with treasures that seemed as ancient as the island itself. The walls were lined with tapestries and delicate gold inlays, each piece telling its own story. Bella carefully pulled an old key from a necklace she wore, unlocking a small chest in the corner. Inside lay a map, aged and frayed at the edges, marking a route deep into the mountains, beyond Havana, where few had dared to venture. "This," she whispered, her voice tinged with excitement, "leads to a part of my family's history no one talks about. They say there's a hidden trove, jewels and relics from before my ancestors came to Cuba. Only a few know of it, and fewer still have seen it." J-Cat's mind raced, the thrill of mystery and discovery electrifying him. "And you trust me to share this with you?" She looked at him, a mischievous glint in her eye. "I do. But it's not just trust, J-Cat. It's knowing that there's no one else I'd want to share this adventure with. They spent the next hours planning, poring over the map, plotting their path by candlelight. As dawn approached, the plan was set, and as they sat back, exhausted but exhilarated, Bella nestled close, her head resting against his shoulder. In the quiet before morning, they found themselves wrapped in each other's warmth, breathing in sync, as if time had slowed just for them. The next evening, under the cover of dusk, they set out into the Cuban countryside, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As they wound through dense, unmarked trails, they encountered narrow paths and hidden cliffs, the journey challenging and beautiful. The night air was thick with the scent of the jungle, alive with sounds that only heightened the thrill of their secret pursuit. Hours later, they reached the cave entrance marked on the map. Bella took J-Cat's hand, leading him inside as the faint glow of moonlight illuminated ancient carvings on the cave walls, symbols of guardians and goddesses. The silence was thick, charged, and they walked in reverent awe, following the path deep into the mountain until they found it, a hidden alcove, glistening with artifacts untouched by time. Bella turned to him, her eyes wide with wonder, but also with gratitude. "I would never have made it here without you," she whispered, pressing a kiss to his cheek, her lips lingering. J-Cat smiled, wrapping his arm around her as they admired the treasures before them. "Sometimes, it's not about the destination," he murmured, looking into her eyes. "It's about the journey. And the company." The night became their sanctuary, a stolen moment away from the world, where they could be their truest selves. They stood there, surrounded by ancient relics and bathed in moonlight, two souls bound by adventure, mystery, and an undeniable connection that defied time and place. As dawn began to creep through the cave's opening, casting soft light across the room, J-Cat and Bella made their way back to the surface, their hearts full, their spirits bound. They returned to Havana with more than just treasures. They had shared an adventure, one that would forever be a part of them both. And as they looked out over the morning sea from El Malecón, J-Cat took her hand, feeling the certainty of their bond. In the end, the treasure was not the relics or the gems, but the depth they had discovered in each other. In the soft, early light of dawn, as the first hints of sunlight slipped over the horizon, J-Cat and Bella stood together at the entrance of the ancient cave, feeling the remnants of their adventure still tingling in their veins. Their journey had been thrilling, but the true treasure, J-Cat realized, was not the jewels or relics, it was Bella herself, with her courage, her laughter, and the mystery she held in every glance. As they looked out over the rolling hills that led back toward Havana, a warm breeze lifted Bella's dark hair, swirling it around her shoulders. She turned to J-Cat with a smile that spoke volumes, a mixture of relief, excitement, and an invitation he couldn't refuse. The intensity in her eyes told him that this night had unlocked something more than just the treasures of her family's past. Without a word, he slipped an arm around her waist, pulling her close, feeling her warmth against him. Her hands traced the edges of his jacket, feeling the strength and surety that seemed to pulse from him. She bit her lip, her gaze flicking from his eyes to his mouth and back again, the unspoken promise of something deeper, something more dangerous than the adventure they'd just completed. The world around them seemed to fall away as he tilted her chin up, pressing his lips softly to hers, a kiss that deepened slowly, each second more heated than the last. Her fingers found their way into his hair, drawing him even closer, as if the distance between them was unbearable. His hand at the small of her back pulled her to him, and they sank into each other with a hunger that had been building since the start of their journey. The silence of the cave and the soft rustling of leaves surrounded them, amplifying each heartbeat, each whispered breath. The adventure, the thrill, the sheer joy of discovering this hidden part of the island felt electric between them, like they were the only two people in the world. He traced the contours of her face, his touch lingering, savoring every moment as they stood, framed by the ancient carvings that had watched over centuries of secrets and mysteries. Finally, they pulled apart, breathless but smiling, feeling as if they'd found something even more precious than any hidden treasure. He looked into her eyes, brushing a strand of hair away from her face, and whispered, "There's no going back after this, Bella." She smiled, her gaze never wavering as she pressed her lips against his again, softly, but with a promise. "Then let's not." Hand in hand, they walked back through the morning mist, the island's secrets now a part of them, bound not just by the thrill of discovery but by the certainty of what they'd found in each other. And as they made their way back to Havana, they knew that this was only the beginning of an adventure that would last a lifetime.
He's the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands. Every woman wants to stand.
And that's a wrap on another thrilling episode of JCat Adventures. I hope you've been on the edge of your seat, caught up in the mystery, excitement, and danger that always follows JCat wherever he goes. From heart-pounding action to deep emotional connections, JCat's world never fails to surprise. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, or click the follow button, so you never miss out on the next big adventure. Whether you're into romance, suspense, or mind-bending mysteries, there's always something more coming. And don't be shy, reach out. You can audio call or audio text chat with me directly. I'd love to know what you want to see next in JCat's world or hear your thoughts on today's episode. Want to dive deeper? Explore more of JCat's thrilling escapades by grabbing an ebook at www.jcatadventures.com or head over to Amazon for paperbacks and hard copies. Trust me, you'll want to have JCat's latest adventure right in your hands. And remember, the podcast continues across your favorite platforms: iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Wherever you go, JCat is right there, ready to bring you into his world of suspense, romance, and non-stop action. But it doesn't end here. This journey is just the beginning. Stay tuned for the next episode, where JCat takes on new challenges, faces dangerous foes, and maybe even finds love in unexpected places. Until next time, keep that spirit of adventure burning bright. The world is filled with endless possibilities, and JCat is proof that no mystery is too big to solve. Remember, adventure is thrilling, but the heart's deepest desires are the greatest mysteries of all. Keep chasing passion, stay fearless, and never let love slip through your fingers. This is Jay Bahari, signing off. Stay curious, stay bold, and always keep exploring, because the next chapter of JCat Adventures is just around the corner.
He's the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands. Every woman wants to stand. He rolling, he's jacked fast like the wind. Every mission he take, you know he's gonna win. Ladies on his left, danger on the right. But it's love and respect that he's bringing to the fight. He's the cat with the 9 lives, playing the game. A heart full of in the shadows he rolled, but he shines so bright. With every step he takes, he's doing it right. He's JCat, the name that rings in every city. Slick with the moves, ain't nothing here pretty. Harry is so, so kind. In the realm of love, the connections bind. They are by your side. A symphony unfurls, spreading love across the digital world. Jay Bahari in the cyber sea. A love captain setting spirits free. With AI whispers like a gentle dove, he's on a quest to spread love. In the language of compassion, he decodes. Old school soul in a digital age. Jay Bahari's love breaking out of rage. Soul mission breaking down the wall. 60 years deeper.